goes bad, it produces some really interesting results in your pack.
Oh, really?
The other thing you might try doing is charging the cells separately if you can wire it that way.
Oh, just do that? Yeah.
I would agree.
Try to get them balanced, or
test each cell individually.
Yeah, just to test it if you can charge them, and then you know if it's the charger. You know, by then you can start eliminating things and figure out if it's the charger or there's some management system.
Yeah. As far as I know, I can't see any. Usually see like a lump and a bunch of wires going to individual cells, but they do have the the connector that has ground and then a wire at each tap.
Yeah, the balancing one with taps.
Yeah. That's how you do it.
I would think you could, just like Ted said, that you could maybe even cycle each cell individually once.
Yeah.
And then use your charger. If it's like mine, it'll actually tell you how many milliamp hours went in and out.
Oh, yeah.
Ray, these are purchased packs?
Oh, yeah. They're
you didn't make them yourself?
Oh, God, no.
Okay. So you should be able to, as was suggested, you should be able to connect each cell individually up to your lithium-ion charger and discharger by way of the multiplex cable, the small white gist cable that's used for balancing. You can also use that for charging. Just charge it at a slow rate. Yeah, in there. Okay. So, I mean, go in there with, I assume you have some extra pins you can put in there. So you can just hook up 2 at a time, because they just wire directly into each cell.
Each cell, yeah.
Measure 2 adjacent pins will be 1 cell, and you can just connect up to that with some alligator clips and just charge just that 1 cell and discharge it.
Oh, so discharge it. Don't just try to charge it up?
Well, both.
Just cycle it.
Cycle it, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and when you do that, I don't know what your charger looks like, but the chargers I use will do a full capacity test as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have, it's an IMAX V6 AC, so you can just plug it into a wall socket. You don't have to provide a DC voltage, but yeah.
Does it have a readout on it?
I have one of those that's quite good.
Yeah, it's just a V6. I don't know if it's a clone. Probably is a clone. Came from China.
Sorry, you're showing me a battery pack?
Yeah, that was the Zop Power. Sure. They got pretty good reviews.
Yeah.
But,
so many of the non-trivial chargers will look kind of like that. This is a very common cloned Chinese design. Everybody makes them. And it has a lot of capability. Just go through the manual.
Yeah, I've actually got 2 of those.
Yep.
One that doesn't work anymore and one that seems to work pretty good. But it's still not balancing it.
I like the one I've got because it also has serial outputs, which allow me to capture the data and produce charge-discharge curves for each battery as well. That's really handy to have sometimes.
Oh, that's even better. I mean, that'll tell you a lot about the health of your cell. If you can see the shape of the curve.
Yeah.
And compare the shape of the curve between cells.
Yeah.
This one does like a wide range of cell types and voltages.
Yeah.
It has the balancing port, the Selectrify Triton something or other. But and it also will measure, like when it cycles, it'll tell you how many milliamp hours went in and out.
Yeah. I don't know if mine will or not. I'll have to take a look at it. It's just, between motor controllers acting weird and battery packs out of balance, and it's like I'll be lucky. Everything works contest day,
Back when my model airplane club had to go virtual with its meetings, and we're trying to figure out how to provide something of interest, we all got asked to do presentations for each of our monthly meetings in the winter online. So I did one on battery technology and how to service batteries of all types, which turned out to be fairly popular. So it gets into nickel metal hydride, alkaline, lithium ion, a bunch of others, including test equipment.
Anyway, just weird things. Hopefully, everything will work well on the day of the contest. But
I've been looking for good lithium iron. Where are they? Lithium iron, I think, batteries.
Oh, lithium iron phosphate.
LEFV.
Yeah. Phosphate, whatever they are. Anyways, because I've heard those are quite robust and don't have some of the issues with other lithium technologies. So
yeah,
the problem is I have trouble finding those in a good size for a robot. They're either really big or these little teeny ones, and
12 volt, 100 amp hour, 200 amp hour, and close to $1,000.
Yeah, because I think they use them for like solar panel for off, if you're off grid and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you can. When I installed my system, inverters that would run offline were just coming out, and most of them were any of the grid tied ones. They had to, if you lost the grid, it shut down its output. And it would wait like 5 minutes after the grid was back up to go back online. And, it's a good safety thing because you don't want to be pushing power back on a line and have, linemen think it's not powered and you're driving it, you're powering it, So, but, at the time, batteries were way too expensive, and I haven't looked at a turbine, and turbines are really impractical as far as cost goes. And I don't like heights, so I don't think I'd be climbing a 120-foot tower. That.
Whoo, that's high.
Yeah. But,
hey Ray, I have a thought on your blue tread thingy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, I tend to ride bicycles. You might tell from my shirt.
Yeah.
But one thing I've noticed over the years is that when you get these skinny little tires, and there are cracks in the pavement, bad things happen.
Oh yeah.
So I know that your little blue thing with the tread is it's got a little width to it, relative to but still, depending on how big the cracks are in Steve's yard, that's my only caution right there. So
could fall in just like a caster could, but
you need a new control algorithm that says do not follow cracks in the ground.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. I think it seemed like the way the course was done, I didn't see any cracks that were like running parallel to my route, but you never know. I mean, this year they could be all in line or something.
Ray, I think for one of the contests you had some sort of machine that was pneumatically shooting pop cans with air, right?
Oh yeah. Still got it. So I haven't finished it.
I'm thinking you need to convert that to like point down so it can blow the wheel out of the crack or something, or just make a hovercraft. There you go. Put a hovercraft on the back.
Don't even need to worry about cracks or anything.
Just float right over it.
Yeah. I need something to, distribute the weight. I haven't thought about, I don't know what they used to call it. Well, I think they used to call the whole plane a tail dragger.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even a wheel. It was just a piece of metal, springy metal that kind of came down off the back of the plane. But you didn't have to worry about the plane, backing up your plane, I don't think. So, whereas, in these contests, we have to back up a lot. So that would probably not work. Then I thought, okay, well, I'll do, 2 pieces of shaped metal perpendicular to each other so it could turn on or spin on one when it was rotating and then travel on the other when it was moving forward. And I'm sure that would probably dig itself into the ground as well, you know, get stuck somehow. So
the typical model airplane I fly is a soaring aircraft, a glider. Not only no engine, but no wheels either. None at all.
Oh, really? So it just hits the ground, and
you have to be very selective about where you fly because of the landing issues.
Oh, ooh.
Or fly on sod farms.
Say that again.
When I would do that, you said you fly on sod farms. When I did that growing up, we had a 6-foot Wanderer, and I learned to fly it by my brother threw it to me, and I threw it to him, and we'd catch it. So just catch it by the nose. It never needs to hit the ground.
Now we use 400-foot long slingshots.
Right. Yeah. Catapults.
Yeah.
Medical
Just launch it off the Skyway, Tom.
Pardon?
Just launch it off the Skyway.
Well, there's no sod farm close enough. Yes,
that'll give you a couple of hundred feet to start taking off.
Yeah, these latest Canadian regulations restricting model airplane flying are quite difficult for us because we normally fly with basically launch altitudes of about 400 feet and then fly up to 1,000. And of course, none of that is allowed anymore in Canada.
Really? Oh,
nor the U.S. Yeah, the 400-foot cap.
They clamped down as well.
400-foot cap is a pain.
Exactly. It's a real pain for a soaring aircraft.
No thermaling allowed, I guess, huh?
Well, with great difficulty. It's not nearly as much fun.
So what are they worried about? Drone attacks or something? Or
God knows.
No.
We certainly don't.
Well, I have talked with some, like there was one pilot I met who's actually on the FAA committee a few years back, and I mean it's no joke in a way when you see what they're doing with drones in Ukraine, and there have been any number of cases here in the U.S. And around the world where Yahoo idiots have just said, "Well, I think I'll go take my DJI drone, park it at about 1,000 feet, and watch the planes take off." You know, in the traffic pattern. Just rocket scientists. So it only takes one or two people like that to just wreck it for everybody.
And what's really scary is last year when the Yahoos who were doing that at Buttonville Airport just outside of Toronto were the Peel Police Department drone operators.
Yeah.
And they collided with a full-size Cessna on its final approach. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anyway, hot button.
People that should know so much better.
Yeah.
Well, then,
Ray, I have a question.
Yep.
You're talking about cracks in the ground. So, as I said, 2023 is out of the question for me going down south to see you guys. But 2024. So, how big are the cracks? So, do I need
lose your foot in
an 8-inch ATV tire on my robot now?
Get some lawnmower tires. You know that.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to teach your robot how to hop.
That's right.
Well,
get ramming force, you know, boom, boom.
The good news is by November, there's usually a little bit of water here. Although I think we had, by my gauge, we had a third of the year's water a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But when it's dry for so long, the cracks, there was one year, 10 years ago or so, 15 years ago, and the golf course, the cracks were inches wide. From what I heard, they were inches wide at the golf course, and they were deep enough that people were taking their putters and they could pretty much lose it in the crack if they weren't careful. So they'd have to grab the end of it with their fingers to pull it out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Now, when I was down there a couple years ago in August, I don't remember any cracks, at least nothing sizable. So maybe it's a fall thing.
It depends. Like if there's a long stretch without any water, I think it's like a Mount Marillenite soil.
It's a clay. It just
soil.
shrivels up and dries.
Yeah,
it shrinks.
Yeah, bring some climbing rope and a carabiner so I can get the robot out of the crack.
That's right. Yeah, I have to get a a scaling type robot that can. Yeah.
You'll need to build a robot and then a recovery robot.
Oh yeah. You've seen Scott Gibson's robot, right, with the big fat wheels he has. So I don't think you need snowcat width.
No, I've got whatever they are, little monster truck. I don't know, 4.5-inch tires.
Those, I don't know. From what I've seen, they'd probably do it, wouldn't you think, guys? I mean,
yeah.
Right now, my caster's a 3-inch caster, and it fell into one of the cracks and got stuck. It was almost like a big nail in the back of the robot frame. That, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to attempt it if I get lucky and I get it finished. And my wheels are only going to be about 1 inch, so that's one thing. But I'm trying to counter that by being very, very light. Okay, we'll see. But
out of the last couple of years watching, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to. You guys mind if I try to do a robot-y thing here?
Nope. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to. If you'll pin me. Okay. All right. And let me get this guy off. Okay, there we go. Okay. Well, you can see I'm making some progress on this. And this guy, I don't have the screws on him yet. I have finished my sensor deck on the top, so I'm getting there. But so my next goal is to get the weight of the good estimate of the weight and see if I've got enough power to do everything. So let me turn this. This is just. I'm just going to show a little demo here. So.
Right now, I'm not seeing anything.
Oh, okay. Well.
There we go.
Okay. All right. So. Let's see here. All right. So this is. Now, I'm not exactly sure why one wheel is so much faster than the other. I'm using this little, it's a dual 5 amp ESC, just to try to make it, if this works, as a simple solution. And then I have also, see if I can, if you watch this is steering. You see one wheels are going one way and the other wheels going the other?
Yep.
Okay, but one of them, like I say, is a lot slower, and I haven't figured out exactly what's going on there. I don't know if that's the, I don't know. I don't know if that's, I can see one of the problems. You gotta have the belts tight. But anyway, I might, give me a second. Let me try to tighten that belt. See if that makes a difference. Okay, let's see if it makes any difference. That was, okay. Yeah, I think that was the problem. So, you see, like I said, you can see they're moving. Wow, there's something about that belt keeps getting loose. And like I say, the throttle's pretty good. So anyway, that's that. And like I say, I've got this. I've worked up the sensors deck, and I'm thinking that I'm going to try one of the lidars as my forward distance detection. That has about 12 feet, if I remember right, or 12 yards. I can't remember. 12 feet or 12.
It could be 12 meters. Yeah.
12 meters. Yeah. Okay. Just to see if that. So the intent will be to use that to to track the distance once I've locked into the cone. So, like I say, there's a lot of work to do, but I had guests all weekend, and so I didn't get much done.
Yeah, I had to entertain.
Oh gosh, I had my son and his wife from Seattle. I had both my local daughters and their families. I had my sister from Massachusetts. It was a zoo. So anyway, I'm glad. I just put the last one on the airplane today, and so we'll see. But so we got what, 10 days?
10 days, 11.
Yep.
11 days. So
in a few hours.
If with a little luck, I might possibly be able to get it. It's one of those things you don't know. At the least, I want to get 1 point so I can get my cup. But the difference between a strategy that's only trying to get one cone and one that gets 3 cones really isn't a whole lot of difference. So you might luck out. And I'm a little wondering about this. This ESC might actually make it a lot easier for me, because my original code base was for an Ackerman converted 1/10 scale RC card. Yeah, so it was using an ESC. So the code for all of that already exists. It's just might make it easier. It definitely makes it a lot simpler. And those things cost about $10 a piece. And they're dual motor. I guess they're for like boats and tanks and that sort of stuff. So
heavier current, yeah.
Yeah, and the Pololu 37 12 volt. I don't know what they have a couple of options, but I want to say their stall turn is supposed to be 5.1 amps. So it could be a good fit. We'll just see. So I've got a backup. So let's see how that goes. So anyway, a little progress. I just wanted to show that. You can unpin me now.
Something moving.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep. Yeah, I can work mine at twice the speed, but I'm sure Scott's made speed improvements, so I'm probably going to be in the same position I was last year.
I still, nobody has done that real super well at Steve's house. We had multiple 9-pointers at other locations, but at Steve's house, everybody seems to have struggled, and so I would go for points, and then see if or don't worry about speed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's the second thing. If everybody makes 9 points, what you're doing.
Yeah, but that's if you made 9 points, that's still a victory. I don't care. Even if you're technically second or third, you're still victory.
Yep.
Yeah. And there is one level harder. If you've got good obstacle avoidance, then you can do the 3 waypoint option only, where you only have 3 waypoints, and so that's like 9 plus. You know what I mean? So that'd be that you could be number one. You could be slow in number one if you did it that way. Mm-hmm. So anyway, see how it goes.
I think that's what most of us were doing, aren't we?
Not me. I doubt if I'll do that. I'll probably do the one, you get, if you take multiple waypoints and get your 9 points, it's just a 9 point. I believe we call that a perfect score, but the other one is like a perfect score with 3 waypoints. That's a much harder. That's a harder thing because your robot's going to try to go probably in a straight line.
Yeah.
And you have to have some sort of obstacle avoidance to get around all of the problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I thought about that in programming it to not go in a straight line, knowing that there's some obstacle in between.
Yeah. Well, there was I talked to I don't know if he's a member anymore, but a gentleman who now lives in Colorado. His name is Rick Swan, and we were looking at the Google map of Steve's house, and it's mainly a yard, so it's the trees are like in groups, in clusters.
Yep. And
people who wanted to approach a mapping solution would be able to do that. You could essentially put the whole thing on a grid, and you would know you could make certain areas out of bounds.
Yep.
All right. Now, so when you started, your robot would avoid the out of bound locations. And so that would be another way of getting with 3 waypoints. It's more complicated, but it's not overly complicated. I mean, if you were trying to do it in the woods, it'd be a pain in the butt. You couldn't do it. But in Steve's yard, because of the way things are clustered, you could easily have regions of don't go there. Here be trees, and
as long as one of the waypoints is in the middle of a group of trees.
Yeah. Well,
this is where you must separate the judges from the participants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you could have done it with 5 waypoints and not have any obstacle avoidance.
Right. Exactly. And that's and I believe in the last course there was one waypoint you could use twice.
Really?
Yeah. Otherwise, if you think of it, you could go down to the first cone, then you could go from the first cone to a waypoint.
Yeah.
And then to the second cone.
Right.
Then from the second cone back to your waypoint, and then up to the third cone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're just recycling a waypoint, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that was.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think if you went in a straight line from the second cone to the third cone, you'd hit Steve's house.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna. Yeah. He had right at the corner of his house. I want to say he had I don't know why he had it, but it was like your robot drops down into a hole that's, you'll never see it again. I mean, it was really right at the corner of his house. So if you were cutting, trying to go to that last cone, and you were cutting just the edge of Steve's house, it was erosion. It was. He didn't put it there on purpose. It was there, though.
I remember that one because it was actually a trip hazard for people. It was not safe.
Yeah. But I'm thinking, but we'll see how it goes.
Somebody kept moving an orange cone over there. That didn't realize what it was, right? No. That's a hazard. You need to put a cone out there.
So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doug.
I just assumed that we could only use 3 waypoints, and that's what I did. I didn't know I could actually use 5.
Yep, you can use as many if you read the rules.
Yeah.
You can use waypoints to get to 9 points, because if you think of it as our idea of trying to get things a build, you know, so first the guy gets down and he gets 1 point. The next time he goes down, he stops and he gets 3 points maybe. The next time maybe he gets the whole 9. And then after that, for his next challenge, he has robust obstacle avoidance, and he does it with 3 waypoints. Yeah.
And fast.
And fast, yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Yep. See how it goes.
I don't know. I've made some improvements just in, doubling the speed. So it's not like watching paint dry anymore. So it's, you have to keep up with it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'll know more about this tomorrow, because I'll run this out on the St. Augustine back grass in the back and see if I've got it light enough.
Yeah, my 4-wheel drive platform right now is very good at tearing the grass up and filling the little crevices in the wheels with mud and dirt.
Yeah.
So especially if you turn in place, it's almost like a cutting action of the edge of the wheel and the dirt.
Yeah. So, well, I had one of those. I think it was a 1/16 model. You and I were talking about possibly using surplus 4-wheel drive Jeep type models. The problem with those is there's the wheel. If you had one that was a 1/10 model, the wheelbase would be big enough. But a 1/16, the dang thing is so top heavy, it bounces across the grass. I mean, it's great if you're just bashing, but trying to go somewhere on purpose is not necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I found if the wheels are too close together, that tends to tear up the grass. As far as the wheelbase.
Yeah, I try to make mine square, so that the wheels are the same width apart, or side-to-side distance was the same as the width apart. So.
Yeah, I'm approaching that too. I don't think it's perfect, but it's pretty close, surprisingly close. I have a lot of questions like, am I going to run into tension problems on the belts all the time? Am I going to have wheels that are too narrow or not enough traction? There's just a lot of things. But this is my building year. We'll see how. I'm converting from an Ackerman to a
skid steer.
To a skid steer differential, and that'll be a big upgrade.
Yeah.
One hint, Doug, is for those pulleys, put Loctite on the set screws, because they'll work their way loose.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, I tried to make flats in them. But
they still work loose, though. The set screws do.
Okay.
Well, at least mine always do.
Yeah. Well, on these, I did when I was building the axles for the wheels and all of the pulleys, getting them all, where the right fit, where you could press them on, but you didn't have to really super press them on, just, it was, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I thought keyed axles would be, eliminate all the problems of, slippage. But if you have either the keyway in the shaft or the piece of key that you're using in it is worn out a little bit, it can still walk its way out, and then it'll just spin freely. So
I would think, in hindsight, standing where I am now and looking at all of using the 2020 extrusions, I had that, so that was good stuff to use. But, I'm really thinking, if you went ahead and just dropped some money on Rev, or
Go Build It,
and got, they wouldn't supply you, I think, the necessary wheels that you need, but the rest of this stuff, you could get a pretty good frame and then go ahead. So, but now that the nice thing about 2020 is that all of the little components that you would go buy from one of them costing you lots of jack, you can just 3D print. Okay, so you can 3D print all your like your motor mounts, your pulley blocks, all of that stuff. It's not that's pretty easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just see, and so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I still have a cart full of stuff at Go Builder that I just didn't, pull the trigger on. So it's kind of like, okay, yeah, that's what I would get if. But there's not enough time now. So it's getting now that if you couldn't get it one day on Amazon, you're probably not going to get it. Too late.
Yeah.
There's always next year.
And I think next year, I feel I'll be in much better shape. But right now, with my wife's health and everything, and it just it's a hobby. Otherwise, only messing with it a little bit here and a little bit there. So we'll see.
Well, cool, Doug. As Ed reminded, you've earned a star as having something that actually moves. Aside from
I'll give it a black star because it wasn't on the floor. So we'll get a black star on that.
That's good. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think next in queue we have Ted H. Since I garbled up the queue earlier, and then open mic, and then Doug D.
Ted H or Ted M? There are two Teds now?
Yeah.
Ted H.
Tom Hamilton. Oh my goodness.
I think that's the second week you've done that, Carl.
Now you guys up north, y'all look alike.
Send me back. Hey, I'm from Pennsylvania. Give me a break.
It must be the lack of a tan.
Oh, geez. No, it's just lack of my brain is missing in action. It's missing.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Tom.
Okay. just some simple things. I mentioned 2 weeks ago that I had decided to explore my Roomba collection and was worried about batteries and thought I didn't have any good ones. My problem wasn't the batteries. It was my understanding of my very own battery tester. So I now have, I'll hold those up. I don't know if you've seen Roomba batteries. They come in a wide variety of colors. I now have 4 that are quite acceptable and 2 more I'm working on that look promising and one which truly was dead. So that's looking up really, really good. I'm really happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody mentioned, Ted, you mentioned lithium FE, LiFe batteries. I happen to have one, and you're right. They're either very small or very big. These are receiver batteries for aircraft. For those who like lithium and they don't want to run the risk of fire, these are ideal, but you need to be aware of their lower voltage. 6.6 volts for a 2S on this particular unit. But they're very nice. They're also really expensive.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. On my other robot, which is the Snap Circuits 4-wheel drive robot, I had mentioned that it will become my experimental robot for navigation. So I made a little bit of progress. This is essentially just the array of sensors, which I'm going to mount on a servo. The servo is already mounted on the top deck, and this thing just has At the top, you'll recognize an ultrasonic transducer. And underneath it, let me just do this. Underneath it, the black thing at an angle, that's a sharp IR distance sensor. And the smaller item near the bottom is a laser sensor. I have the model number if you need to know it, but you're probably familiar with it. It's a time-of-flight laser sensor. So that'll be my experimental apparatus for purposes of playing around with distance measurement and different angles to see what I can learn. Before I finally decide that I really ought to go buy a LiDAR. We'll see. We'll see how that works. So this is coming together fairly well. One more item. I've had an additional person from the Vancouver Club who has asked me for some advice and help with digital compasses. And his application is kind of interesting. He already has a working underwater ROV. And he's discovered that as soon as the ROV gets into murky water, he has no idea which direction it's pointed in. The onboard camera doesn't provide any clues for that. Mm-hmm. So he's started to experiment with the same compass module that Pat and I have talked about. And is having no end of trouble trying to figure out how to use it. So we'll start to work on trying to figure out not only how to get a compass working, but how to get it working underwater and displaying above water. And also, we may have to do tilt compensation. So I've asked him to give some thought based on his experience with his ROV already, to give some thought to how much of a tilt issue he has, and whether we need to compensate for that, and whether he could actually use pitch information and left and right tilt and front and back tilt information when this thing is underwater and he can't see it. So this might be another interesting direction we move in with at least my understanding of how to make use of a full IMU for compass information plus other stuff. We'll see how that goes. We just started discussing it this weekend.
Well, that's cool.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody done tilt compensation on a compass? No? Okay.
Oh, I think...
You mean aside from the 9GOF where it's built in, like the BNO 055?
If you're using all that stuff, yeah. If you do the full processing, it depends upon the software drivers that you use, whether it actually does three-dimensional tilt compensation of the compass or not. Sometimes they just give you the compass data based on the XY information, and they don't compensate. You can tell the difference because if it does full tilt compensation, you have to include the third dimension in your calibration. So you don't just calibrate on a plane, you now have to calibrate inside of a sphere, which is going to be a lot of fun with an ROV.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say though, most compasses now take all three axes. The old ones didn't, but the new ones I think already have that. And when you calibrate, you get three circles. So
okay,
yeah,
certainly the compasses that Pat and I are using have three orthogonal magnetometers.
Yeah.
But all the firmware I've looked at never compensates for the third axis. It only makes use of X and Y. So it'll be an interesting thing to look at.
Okay, cool.
The data's there, but they don't use it.
Yeah. That's better.
Using an IMU, you've got the accelerometers that can give you your orientation with regard to gravity.
Which is certainly a lot easier than trying to work out whether you should be doing tilt compensation with the three orthogonal axes of the magnetometer. That's also possible, but it's not nearly as good, and it's a bit trickier.
Mm-hmm.
I've been scouring the papers people have published on the topic. Most people use the accelerometers along with the magnetometers, but some people have developed solutions that only use the magnetometers and are good for about 30 degrees of tilt.
Imagine drone or drones would use that. It's instead of running in water, you're running in air. So but it's
that's where most of the tilt compensation software is coming from that I've looked at. Is they're saying we're doing compensation for people that want to try and use a compass up in the air on an airplane or a quadcopter. So because now you want to deal with the full degree of motion, all three planes of motion.
Yeah, another place that might be worth looking at is the autopilot for the helicopter. That might be worth looking at too.
That's a good suggestion, actually, Doug. I may look at that and see what it is. I don't know to the extent, I don't know what Ian's skill level or interest level is in a full-blown implementation. I don't know anything about the design of his ROV. I don't know whether it's even got onboard computers or not. This may be the first computer it has on board. We'll see.
Okay, yeah. I know that there's a big competition among the colleges that goes down, I want to say in San Diego every year. I know my son worked on one of them many years ago. He's been out of school for a long time, but they did take an ROV down to there, and they take it, and it has to run through a certain course and all of this stuff. And
I talked to a university team from Waterloo University here in Canada several years ago, who built a ROV and took it to that competition, which I think was in San Diego.
Yeah,
so that was a really interesting discussion.
Yeah. There's also I don't think you get the tilt information off of it, but there was a guy who did a autonomous boat project that was going to go around the world, and I think he got
to Australia.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. He got to Australia, but his website was really a lot of fun to watch because he updated it, every day with the progress. Yeah, and then it kind of disappeared.
Anyway, that was everything I had to comment on.
Yeah.
So things like that, you kind of wonder if cartels have sponsored some of the events, because they want the submarines to go certain places.
You're talking about the Medellin hackathon.
Yeah.
well, they definitely are using them.
Oh yeah, from what I understand,
they've found them. They've run into them.
Yeah, apparently they don't recycle them. I guess it's a one-way trip.
Yeah.
And I guess you don't want to be the guy that drew the short straw that had to pilot the thing, into U.S. waters,
All right. Let's see. So I think we're at, unless I've screwed up yet again, I think we're on open mic night until Doug D comes back.
Well, I think he's back.
I'm back.
Oh my goodness! All right.
Okay, so I can do a brief update if it's time. Sorry about the flickiness of my camera. I'm on my other computer, but what I've done is I've reworked my motor mounts so that they all use this clamp thing here, so it takes them up fake. I've clipped and soldered and redone all these wires so they're nice and long and they're not got those DuPont connectors in them. So they won't have problems of coming disconnected once they're implemented. And I got lots of wires I can chop off when I get them to where I want them to be.
So just a suggestion, maybe a little bit more room light.
Yeah.
It's very hard to see. It's very dark there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not really the important part. The piece is.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is I put this latex tubing over it just to make it look steampunkish.
Yeah.
This will go into the box so that this is all showing. All the wires will be inside the box. And the legs will be on there. And there's actually one over here, which I can't move this computer to point at it, and that's probably pretty dark. This is the robot all discombobulated. This is one leg I can't get off because it's just permanently on there now. And I was still able to manipulate it and get the wires redone. So I made that progress. It wasn't as much progress as I would have liked, but unfortunately, this was the week we had to start mulching. So I have been mulching hours and hours every day. But I did get this part done, and my goal next week is to get the new motor controllers in, the LH298s, whatever they are. I've dug them out of my box, and I'm ready to pull out the blown out ones and put the new ones in. I was trying to decide if I needed to put some sort of limiting current thing between the motors and the battery, but I hadn't decided yet, and I don't even know what that would be if I decided I did want to do that. And
didn't we decide last time that you needed a little more heft than an L298? I thought you'd come to the conclusion that you needed more amperage.
I think because I'm running 18-volt batteries and 12-volt motors,
yeah,
I'm overvolting them. I could be wrong. I'm not an electrical expert, but I'm assuming overvolting somehow relates to too many amps when I'm stalled. And I think that was my problem. I was trying to run in one L298, and it worked great for 2 motors, but when I put 4 motors on it, it overworked.
I got you. So you added an extra one.
Right.
For the
I'm going to put one for the front motors and one for the back motors. And if those blow out, I'll investigate a different kind of motor controller. I happen to have them. They're not worth much. I don't really like them, but I have them, so I'm going to use them.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to something newer and better if they don't work out.
If you find yourself having to buy more, okay, if you look at all of the available modules that they have,
right,
I want to say that there's a few that have current sensing. So you put a resistor on the current sensors lead, and you measure the voltage drop across the current sensing resistor, and that gives you, you might be able to control the amount of power to it. We might be able to protect it that way, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that. The ones I've got, I'm pretty sure are pretty cheap.
Yeah, I'm just saying that there's just, there's like 2 or 3 boards that they put them on. And I want to say there's one board that has the current sense.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
I decided to go with another one.
Yeah.
Another 298 instead of looking for something that's just better. There's probably a number of things that are better now.
Yeah.
On another note, the other thing I've been working on is my all sky camera.
Ooh.
Which I haven't got put together yet. The dome, this isn't hooked on, but this is my 360-degree camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I pushed this all together, so I think it would be hard to get apart right now real quickly. But inside there's an RPi 3, because I had a couple of them and it works. So I thought, well, this is a good way to use it. I'm going to stick this out in the world and leave it 24/7. And basically, this camera will, protected by this, shooting straight up, take a picture of the whole sky as a big circle, and then it'll snap pictures all day and all night. You can make a little time lapse for what the thing is, and you can also use it once they get Wi-Fi out of the place I'm going to put it out in East Texas. We'll be able to say, oh, how cloudy does it look out there? Is it worth driving the 2 hours to get out there? That's what we're going to use it for. So I'm happy that it's finally coming together.
Hey, Doug, another suggestion might be to throw a packet of desiccant underneath your sky dome.
Yeah.
Just throw a...
Right, because it will be open to the air.
Yeah.
The dome itself will be heated by the fire, because that acts as what they call a dew heater.
Yeah.
Keeps the outside from frosting up. And I want to keep the inside from... It's very dewy out there. Yeah. My cardboard boxes got limp just from sitting out for several hours yesterday.
Yeah.
Not yesterday, but the last time I was there. So desiccant's probably a good idea.
Just throw it under the dome.
Yeah, because under here, that's not showing yet, as I have to run an extension cord in there to plug the Pi into. And so there's gaps right here, and I don't want to seal it with silicone or anything because I want to be able to get it apart. So, Jessica, it's a good idea. Thanks for mentioning that. So that's all I've been working on, and my plans for next week are to get those motor drivers working. We'll get this thing back to operational again.
Well, that's great. When is the event?
Well, I originally was shooting for December the 2nd, but I decided that I didn't want to carry it around through the streets of Galveston. It wasn't going to be very functional for the robot. So the secondary date was always April 14th, I think. And that's where they have a steampunk convention in Galveston. And that's in one building. It's a lot strange. Yeah. I think the robot will behave better in there. If I got done by the 2nd of December, I might take it just to see. But I think that, walking around these cobblestone streets is just going to be too much for the robot. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I say be careful when you walk by, patrolmen. It probably look like you got something strapped on your body that maybe
a lot of people will at that point, so I don't think I'll have that problem. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They
do a suicide bomber. Get away.
People have fake time machines, and they have wings that spread out. And they have all kinds of contraptions on their back, so they won't even notice me.
Yeah.
Until I put it on the ground and it starts running around. Now, that's another whole story. Robots, nobody else has got robots.
Yeah.
Doug, have you thought about putting 4 of those little L298 controllers in there?
You don't have a robot. You don't have a robot either. Doug, you don't have a robot either.
Yeah, I didn't hear what you said, Harold. I was stepping on you.
That you don't have a robot either. You're steampunk. That's an automaton.
Okay, yeah. See, I'm not fully steampunkized yet, or whatever that is.
Sorry, I talked over people, but we got to correct the language here. You got to be punkin and steam.
Right. Okay, automatons. Good.
Automaton.
I'll keep that in my list. But to answer,
Pat, you may want to look that up to make sure I'm not wrong either. But that's what they're called, I believe.
That sounds right. But I did consider the 4 L298s. It seems like a little bit more to control, but I did think about that and that it wouldn't blow them out as bad. I didn't have any trouble with 2 motors on one of them, but if I do, I could always go to 1 motor on one.
Yeah, you're controlling those motors because you're not using encoder feedback, correct? You're just using...
I am going to wire up encoder feedback. I had encoder feedback on 2 of the motors, and my full intention is to eventually use all 4 motors. I don't know how I'm going to average that to make it useful, but I practiced doing that my first time before I blew out all the controllers because I put the extra motors on there.
Because I'm using 4 motors on my outdoor bot, and I only use 2 encoders. So I've got a left side encoder. And
I'm just thinking... Sorry.
If you have high current, on your motors, then maybe it makes sense to just drive each motor separately using parallel connections back to your Arduino or Raspberry Pi, whatever you use to control. It's easier for the parallel for the left side motors. So you have your enable and output module, and your direction cam.
Yeah, that's
it just becomes a slave. Right. Essentially, just whatever signal you give to your encoder motor, it gets the same signal.
Right.
And then
but essentially driving only half the current that it was when it was trying to supply 2 motors.
Right. Good point.
In terms of protection, have you put a fuse on your battery?
Yes, I have a fuse on the battery. And it doesn't waver at all. It wasn't a problem.
And how did you size it? Is it, I presume, a little bit less than the battery's oomph capacity?
I did 3 amp, and I don't know why I picked 3 amp. It seemed like that wouldn't be bad. I think I did that because when I was dealing with the Roby that Harold gave me, they had a 3 amp, so I said, hey, worked for that robot, it'll work for this one. I am not an electrical engineer.
And which batteries do you have?
What's that?
The batteries. What batteries do you have?
Those are Ryobi batteries, and I'm thinking they got a lot of amperage.
In the strictly electrical world, it would be 1.5 times your largest load plus the sum of the rest.
Yeah. These don't actually say the amperage that's on them that I can read with my eyes, but I'm sure I can find it somewhere. They just say, oh, there it is. That's amp hours, though. No, I'd have to look that up to see how much their maximum output is. I know you can really melt things with them if you short them out.
Pat, can you repeat that? Because I'm not sure. Despite the double E degrees that I have, I don't know that I've ever heard that derating. You said what?
It's not derating. It's calculate, let's say, a fuse size, your circuit size.
Yeah.
So when you have a motor, let's say your motors, you got 4 10-amp motors. Okay, full load amps is 10 amps. So you take 1.5 times your largest motor, which would be 10 amps, times 1.5, so it's 15, plus the sum of the rest. So the rest would be 3 times 10 amps. So it would be a 45 amp fuse to handle the three motors.
Okay, so that assumes like a startup current or surge.
That's typical when you're sizing out your feeder sizes. Okay, there's other rules that come into play for startup current on calculating, and it depends on the size of your motor. So if you're using a slow blow fuse, like a time delay fuse, it can be 175% of your motor current.
The other interesting problem here, though, is whether you're attempting to protect your motors or your H-bridge. The question was how to protect the H-bridge. A fuse will never do that.
No, if you're going to try to protect your H-bridge with a fuse, you're going to have to either use a very fast-acting fuse, which is a problem with the motor, or undersize your fuse for the size of your H-bridge. So if your H-bridge can put out 3 amps, you don't want to put out, you'd probably be sizing that fuse at 2 amps or less. And that whether it's quick enough to protect your H-bridge, I doubt it.
Yeah. It hasn't been.
Yeah.
At least the one on the battery.
In theory, the electronics in the H-bridge have some form of self-protection, but it's usually temperature-based, and that's going to be too slow as well. The only way to seriously protect an H-bridge drive is to do instantaneous current feedback and use it to limit the control signal to the H-bridge in extremely fast response. But the kind of devices we typically use and pay for don't do that.
Yeah, so I was thinking it was a pipe dream.
Yeah, well, just buy H-bridges that are cheap enough that you can keep replacing them.
That's my current plan. But I'm out of them. I have to buy more.
So
don't blow them.
You mentioned you're using 12-volt motors. Do you know what their full load rated current and their stall current is?
No, I probably knew that at some point, but I don't have it on the top of my head.
That's the information you would use to properly size the H-bridge.
That's your key there, is your stall current. So if your robot or your automaton runs into something and stalls out a wheel,
right?
What's the maximum current that's going to draw? And if it exceeds the amperage of your H-bridge,
goodbye.
You're going to release the magic smoke.
Yeah, that's exactly what's been happening, I believe.
And that's another question too. So do you know if your motors are rated for stall? Because it's easy to replace an H-bridge, but motors are more expensive.
Oh yeah.
Some motors aren't designed to be stalled. They just can't handle it. They'll fry.
Right.
Okay. Let's see here.
But that's where the fuse might save your motor.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
My limited knowledge was that I thought that the encoders made it so that I would bump up the voltage / amperage to the motors to try to overcome problems and go faster. And I was hoping that by not bumping that too high, I could keep the other stuff.
Okay. Okay, I just did run into something this week, and I had one and I played with it at home, and I've looked it up on the web, and it's pretty robust. Here is a cheap single motor H bridge that you might consider.
The IBT2.
Nope. This one is bigger than a bread box, but it's let me put it on. Let's see, is this it? Yeah, present now. I'm going to entire screen share. All right, this is it right here. It costs $9.
That's an IBT2.
Oh, huh?
Yeah, see the IBT2 on the printed circuit board?
Oh, okay, yeah. I was going to say it's a 7960, but
oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, but yeah, it's $10.
Yep.
And
can you drive those
43
past?
amps, 27 volts.
Yeah, 27 volts. 27 volts. Now on the web, they're saying, well, in reality, it's about 20 amps. Well, that's still for $10. That's a pretty high current drive. Do you know what I'm saying? And they're pretty large because the board isn't large per se, but you can see that heatsink is pretty large.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find mine.
I have a couple of those as well.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if those, can you drive them on a pulse width modulation all the way to 255, basically an on signal all the time? Or does the driver chip need to see that pulse?
I thought I saw it where it said you could do 100% PWM, but let me look.
Okay, because I know there is one variety that's out there that they say don't go over on an Arduino 250 pulse width modulation. It needs to see like 98% of a signal at max.
Well, this says duty cycle 0 to, well, it says 0 to 100, 100. So I think that means 0 to 100.
So from all off to all on.
Yep.
No, not this. This can be controlled. You can control it to anything you want it to. And I actually ran a little Arduino script, stepping it up, by 1 to 1,000, steps, and you could watch it spin up and spin down. Here's the. Let me stop presenting if I can.
Oh, we took 4 input spots on that one.
Yeah, it's only one motor. Okay?
Yeah, one motor.
One motor, so you have to have 2 of them. Okay, if you pin me, I'll show you this. Show you what it looks like. So here's what it.
Yeah, that's pretty good size.
It is.
Yeah.
And so you
probably
got
like 2 inches by 2 inches by.
Yeah, but that's
1.5 inches high.
That's one of the. Yeah, like Carl says, you get $22 for a 4-pack, but you wouldn't have to. I was really impressed with it. I thought it worked really well.
And cheap. What can you get the L298s for? Is it like a couple bucks?
A couple bucks.
Yeah.
$2. Yeah.
So this is 10, but
yeah.
you're
Well,
less likely
Carl just said 5.
There's a 4-pack
$5
for $22.
And if you had plenty of time, like April maybe, you could actually order them from AliExpress.
Yeah,
I think they're about $4 there. But if you can get them for $5 off of Amazon, that's the way I'd go.
Yeah, I'm an Amazon guy. I don't really trust that AliExpress.
No.
There's also an IBT4, which looks like it's rated at 50 amps. But if this one will only do 20, that one will probably only do 25.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, the chips on there are rated. They're truly rated to 43 amps.
Yeah.
All right, but what I've heard is that the way this heatsink is tied to the back of through the PC board, that the efficiency is not as good as it could have been.
Yeah, good thermal conduction.
Right. Now I did check to see if the heatsink is, floating, and it doesn't appear to be floating, so that was kind of neat.
Oh, it does not? So it's tied to something?
It's substrate or something. I don't know. I just did some simple ohm testing to the pins. I went to the pin that's tied to the motherboard in the back of the chip, to the scrape part that I scraped off of the anodization, and it didn't. Yeah. So I might, take that with a grain of salt, but because I expected it to be floating, but.
Yeah, I think I saw that there were suggestions maybe that you should stick a better insulator between the heatsink and the back of it, because I think you're relying on the anodization to not conduct current.
Right. Yeah. So you probably don't want to put this on a grounded plane. You know what I mean? But if it's like I said, I was surprisingly surprised. I thought it did better than I thought it would do, and anyway,
there was some sale. I don't know. They were like really cheap, and so I thought, okay, I'll get 3 just in case I blow one up.
Yeah. I actually was considering these on my motor, though it would have been way overkill. Didn't need it, but it was just so simple to use, So there's plenty of code. There's plenty of YouTube videos about how to use them, and on the web. When you get them, don't expect full instructions, but you can go out on the web and get a really nice set of instructions for a Chinese part. I mean, it's really actually a nice document. There's still a few questions that I would have liked to have seen them answer that they didn't, but it's still good. It has code examples, it has wiring examples, talks about the features, and I think this thing, if I remember right, it can go up to 20 kilohertz for PWM. Yeah. And but you don't have to do that. It works well if you. Doug, you're using Arduino, aren't you? This would work fine with that. I mean, I had it running a small motor on my desk for just as a demo, and what it would do is it would go start, stop, and then it would slowly spin itself up all the way up, and then it would slow itself down and to go in the other direction. Same thing. And it was, it worked real well. I was real happy with it.
Yeah, good to know. I think I glanced at that and decided not to, just because I was too lazy to get one for each motor.
Yeah. Well, you probably could get away with, your original plan of using 2. Where,
this says it'll go up to 25 kilohertz for the PWM.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just saying, instead of, I don't think you need 4 of these.
I thought it would only control one motor.
Yeah, you'd need 2 of them. One for your left and one, your right?
Oh, I could wire the 2 motors together on the left because I have 4 motors.
Yeah, I'm just saying this is big enough that I think your original idea that you had would probably work. That's all I was trying to say.
Okay.
So, well, you could buy 4 of them and it wouldn't be that hard.
Yeah. I might just do that to have them as a backup plan for when my 298s burn out again.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if you can get 4 for $20. At $5 a piece, that's. Mm-hmm.
I believe those IBD2s also have current sense on them.
No, they have. I think they have current alarm.
Oh, it's current alarm.
Yeah, okay. But they do have over temperature, over voltage, reverse voltage, I believe. They have several protective modes. Okay.
Is the current alarm a little puff of smoke when the
that'll work out great in my steampunk stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns all black for some reason.
That's right.
You know. So
well, I'm gonna bow out again after having all of this good feedback. The astronomy guys are still yakking away at how they're doing photography. I knew that they didn't need me for a while, so I came over here before you guys split off. But
before you bail,
question point. Yeah.
Do you plan to bring parts or all of your automata dog to the competition on the 18th? It'd be cool to see how the steampunk is looking.
You know, I hadn't even thought about that competition. That's this coming weekend?
18th.
Okay, so I am free that weekend. This coming weekend, I'm actually going to a steampunk thing out in...
Well, you could come to the competition in your garb.
No, I don't want to do that. But I was intending to go there as a spectator, even though I wasn't going to enter because
I love it. We'll
have enough time to build an outdoor robot right now.
Yeah, it's a good time for people to get together and eat everybody face to face.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll see what I can do. Thanks for reminding me that that's going on.
You bet. I'll spectate with you, but I don't have a cool RoboDog to show either. So.
Well, Carl, you might not spectate. You might if you're not going to run, you'll be a judge.
A judge?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, nice chatting with you. I'm going to bail out for now, and I will see you guys next week.
Sounds good.
Good. See you, Doug.
Okay, now we're officially into open mic night. So, what do we got?
Well, I'm curious. I got to admit, I haven't been following Harold's latest escapades. So I'm just curious, what you up to, Carl? What you been talking about on Twitch and all of that?
Oh, you must have been a waiter in a previous life because I just took a bite of food. So
yeah, well.
Well, I actually have been. I wanted to say that I miss you guys. I've been a bit aloof, if you may use that word. Had this cruise thing to go on. Then when I come back, had a bunch of other stuff happen. One of them is my brother is not doing so well in the hospital. He's doing better now, but he has other complications that I won't go into here. So I've been dealing with that. So on the robot front, though, on the fun front, I've been doing a couple things. If I take you guys here, that's a big head we've been coding up and doing some. Well, it's been a little bit because I even took the time off twitching.
Okay.
I just couldn't do it all. So what you guys are looking at right here is HugoBot. We've been building him. And I've decided just to start. We've gone through most of the parts and made sure they work, and we know at least a little bit how they work. And so I decided to start mounting them onto this make block chassis. So what I've been doing tonight, as you folks have been talking, is we got us a claw. And guess what? I have one of these little doodads for driving servos. Plug the servo into this thing, and I've been getting more things to go grab, and a very specific reason Besides, no, Diet Mountain Dew is not sponsoring my channel, even though I think they should. I give them enough money; they should give me some back. But this thing, we found it on Amazon. One of my subscribers did, and then when this thing closes down all the way, or pretty close to the way that as much strength as it has, it holds that thing really, really good. Okay, and I'm thinking about how that's going to get up mounted. In fact, my folks said it's got to be black because it's slimming and all. And so what I was doing today was taking off the original mount plate, kind of squirrely put together, and so we're going to mount this on the front like that. And so I'm putting all the parts together. Oh, I forgot to tell you, that optical flow sensor that I've been yakking with and doing,
Yeah.
that's where it's mounted right now. And that's approximately 25 millimeters off of the scrub line going across all the floor, all four wheels. So it ought to be pretty close for doing stuff. And I will tell you, it's hard to see, but if you see right down here where the bolts go in, you would have thought this was made for this thing and just worked that way. Like it was manufactured from the factory. The way some of this stuff has been going in, it's been real nice. And then on the back side of this thing, and I was just looking, I've lost I got all this junk spread around here somewhere. I haven't really lost it. I just don't know where it is. So on the back side of this thing, you won't have to worry a little bit about the weight, because this thing has got a little heft to it. But it doesn't have it's not unsurmountable. And so what I've done is we have this 160 by 160 OLED we're going to slap on this guy. And I've got and I was hoping to show it off to you, but Adafruit puts out one of these rotary encoders. It's a wheel and a up, down, left, and right, and a center press button on it, like an iPhone or an old iPod kind of thing. This thing should mount right up to the back side of this thing, and so we can do hopefully do all our. And this is a teensy. It's going to power the whole world with an SD card, and I think we should be able to, if we're good, which I hope we're at least half good anyways, we're going to put a configuration file on the SD card so when the thing boots up, it remembers its last configuration. And what's driving the wheels is the original stuff from the make block kit in there. And we're gonna get communication probably through this USB port, or there's a UART we can attach to on this board, so that we can communicate from the teensy down to the UART and have it do all the driving of the wheels and alerting of things and all that kind of stuff. So the teensy can be the smart thing, because what's going to go in the front of this after we get this on here, and hopefully we'll code it up so we can control it all. And then, when you get, what I've learned by watching all of you fine folks is that when you get in that multi-purpose interactive room you got going on, weird things happen.
You tell me.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to be able to make enough coding things like that where I can adjust the whole thing from here and maybe I get enough variables, hopefully I don't get too many, but enough variables, and I got enough of screen here that hopefully I can run through that and adjust most of those things and then save it to the SD card for like how fast the motors need to go, or like when I want to turn 90 degrees, how much I need to roll, because these motors don't have encoders on them, and that kind of stuff. And so kind of maybe adjust some of those things. I don't know how far that's going to go because I haven't done it yet, right? Got to play on it. And then when we get all that done, we're going to be putting this together. I got to do a mount plate here, and then when that happens, I've got a bunch of I got them over there. The 8x8 solid state lidars from Pumaroni. I'm going to put 3 of them right along the top here. They say they get about a 63-degree angle on the thing, and I'm like, well, that depends at distance and that kind of stuff. So I figure after I get this mounted here, I should probably have enough time with one of these soda cans sitting here to look out and see stuff. And in fact, if they go out and down, we do a 45-degree out and down, right? Working, playing with those things, and hopefully with all of that, and being able to use the optical flow sensor to know kind of how it moves in an XY coordinate, make a pretty good guess at where I'm. And this is an IMU. This is a 085, only because everybody else uses the 055s, and I'm like, well, I can't do like everybody else does, and it turns out that if you didn't know, the 085 and the 055 use the exact same hardware. It's just what firmware they slap on it to do various things with it, right? So, and the little bit of the 085 was meant for the head-mounted displays, is what they designed it for, and that firmware that goes with that. So maybe it's better, maybe it's worse. I don't know. I know Chris has a definite opinion on which one he likes on the thing. So my idea was that I can drop it down, use this thing to know where the other side of the goal is from me. I'm trying not to do a ray. I'm going to poke at it a bit, ray. But, so I know where the other side of the goal is from me. Don't really care where north is. I just want to know where the other side of the goal is, right? Yeah. And then with the arrays up here, be able to find the thing to pick up and the motion sensor to be close enough to, I kind of know where I am in the box. Kind of stuff.
Hey,
those are ideas going around, but everybody has a plan. Like Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, and that's how it kind of works. And so we'll just see how far all this goes. So we're gradually building up. Wednesday, I'm going to be 3D modeling the faceplate here, and I've got 2 more of the 8x8 radar LiDAR here, and we'll probably start designing how those fit on this thing and that kind of stuff. And I've been really, really happy with being able to model this up and some of the fitment, and I think it's a real word, fitment, that these things have done on here, almost like somebody knew what they were doing, and I guarantee you I didn't, and they're looking like it's coming together pretty good, and hopefully it actually ends up working really well too. So that's what I've been doing on Twitch streams and all that kind of stuff.
Hey, Harold, could you give us a close-up review of that claw? Can you
Sure. I have the technologize.
So how much is that claw anyway?
That claw is $25, $26. And it comes in a flat pack little box. So, okay, claw.
Assembly required.
Assembly required. It's got a servo that's mounted upside down. That comes with the pack. If you'll give me a second, when I get done talking, I'll go onto Amazon and post a link in the chat.
So did it come with the servo for $20? It came with its own servo?
Came with its own servo.
Okay, and is that a metal horn on it, on the servo? Is it a metal?
The horn is metal on this servo. You can't tell now because I got it kind of bolted in there and screwed down upon. Yeah. But it's a metal horn, so I suspect most of the gearing in there is metal as well. I was playing, like I say, I was playing with my little servo tester. I'm sure everybody on here has at least one of those things. They're $1.25. You throw them in there to make sure your servo goes around the way. And I was turning it, and it doesn't put out a lot of current. So when it goes to grab on these cans that I had laying around here, I was doing no damage to the can, but I was shaking this thing pretty hard on screen, and it wasn't coming out. So I'm thinking maybe we apply some of that rubber grip stuff, you dip your tools in from Home Depot on the thing, so you got some rubber stuff on it. And it seems pretty solid. There's a little bit of fitment issue on the thing. Like these right here, you see those aren't coming together like I'd like them to. But in the whole scope of the world of things, I'm thinking they're going to be all right. I think it's going to be all right.
So, Harold, when can we see this on a robot actually winning like a 6-can competition? Which year?
I'm working hard here, man. I'm working hard.
So going for May, right?
I'm going for May. Yeah.
Okay.
But 2024 or 2025?
Well, I didn't say the year yet, Ray. Thanks, man. Thanks.
It's brutal. Hey,
brutal.
Hey, Harold. When you're already getting slap talk like that, that means they think you might have something going on.
So what's that pilot saying? How do you know if you're over the target? You're taking flak. So I'm like, okay. So
yeah.
No. So but anyway, I would like to say I did all this myself. And yes, I'm the guy with the hands and stuff. But when I'm on the Twitch stream doing, people go look up things because that's what they do, and they find all these things on there. And as I'm talking, let me pull up my Amazon here and see if I can put a thing in there. In fact, I know I can put it in if I switches over to my. I just can't drop it in the chat.
I found links for similar looking claws, Harold, but I don't know if it's the same one. I found two of them with similar sizes but different.
Yeah, let me go grab my orders and past orders and things. There it is. $19 now. I think it went down a few dollars. And if I wanted it in white, if I didn't want the anodized black, but I got to have black at slimming. I could have saved a couple more.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So have you found that, Carl? Because this is not a way where I can drop this in the chat very easily.
Yeah.
Here, I can do this though.
Here,
you can
I have the technology to do this. Really? You're not going to just log me in?
If I can just see a screenshot, I can find it, Harold. If you can go back and.
Sure.
All right, let me.
Sparring Robot Store is the store.
All right. Let's see.
There's a bunch of them like this out there, and this is the one I bought. So, and I don't know that those out there that look the same are any better or any worse than the one I picked up.
Something tells me when you get knockoffs of knockoffs,
there's something going on, right?
Yeah. And it doesn't matter which one's the source.
And so, and I didn't find this. One of my subscribers found it and recommended it. They said, "Hey, could we do something like this?" In fact, I believe the guy Hugo, which is this Hugo Bots, the person the Hugo Bots named after, is Hugo Dahl. Awesomely smart individual. And he was looking around and found this. And I think by the time we throw some rubber on it, and also just so that the thing I was thinking ahead of time was when I get this. Let's go back here. When I get this mounted up on here, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it where I've got some slide on the top here, so that what I can do is see how it's perpendicular. You can't see that. Let me get my hands out of the way. Okay, see how it's perpendicular or parallel. I think what I want to do is do it where I can kick this back just a degree or two. So when it picks up the can, it should suck that can up just a little bit, so the front edge of that can has an angle to it. So it runs over popsicle sticks and other junk that or whatever things in the world that's on that floor, and he's going to scrape the heck out of the bottom of the can, but that's the bottom of the can. Can't be bothered with all that.
Probably more like dust bunnies and dead bugs.
Yeah, and all that other kind of stuff, right? And I think I can. And we're going to be designing on that a little bit. Hopefully, Wednesday night, I'll be using Fusion and see if I can design on that a little bit, and maybe mount some things up and that kind of thing. Because that's a real easy design. But what I'm thinking, I haven't decided yet, because I want to put this on there first and print off one to make sure it fits. And then when I get my LiDARs in, I got one of them already. I'm not sure whether I want it here. Say we put it on the side here. I'm not sure I want it here, or whether I just want to extend this up a little bit and make a shelf out of it and put them here. I certainly want to convex them out so that I've got a radius that, they said 63 degrees. I'm like, well, whatever, pinky swear. on the 63 degrees, right? And then we can mount it and maybe make some way where I can make some adjustments on actually how they're pointed as I start doing testing and find out my best place plans, and I take it a punch in the face and all that kind of stuff. And we'll see how that goes. And the other thing about balance, because I've been listening really, really well to most of everybody that's done mechanical wheels and balance. This is a little heavy. I've got almost everything centered over the top of this. So if I need to put some extra weight back here, I'm sure I can find something else that's heavy to put on the back of that thing to balance it out.
Some lead sinkers maybe from.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be much on the whole thing. And currently, what's been powering this thing is a bunch of AA batteries. And my thought is, it's kind of hard to see, but here's the AA battery pack that goes through this thing that just makes this just a wonderful bit of thing to put in there. You know, but it's AA, so I don't want to be burning through AA. So now I got to get rechargeable ones or something. And I thought about that after I get the weight on here, since this is a power pack and it can go almost anywhere, I can pull this out of here and mount a power pack underneath this thing at the back and make that weight stuff work out. That was one of my thoughts. But anyway,
Harold, what's the processor on that thing?
This is going to be a Teensy 4.1,
okay.
And this is going to be the smarts. The motor controller and stuff that we're going to have to code up to do that. That's already controlling motors, because it's got stepper drivers and all those kinds of things from make block. It's kind of hard to see right there. Hold on, let's see if I can see. If you hear down in there, it's got steppers right there.
Okay.
And an ESP32 on it. And it has its own bit of firmware and a way to code it up, and we can certainly override all of that if we want to dump all the make block stuff in the trash. I mean, which we might need to do. Don't know yet.
At least you're not trying to power a Pi off of some AA's.
Oh yeah. And I don't know how much runtime I'll get out of it. I suspect hopefully enough to get, you know, a full run or maybe a couple runs out of the thing. That's what I was thinking about, since the Teensy here has got a whole bunch of cool stuff, most notably, come on, there we go, an SD card already connected to it. I mean, one, that's data logging, and two, that's a config file on there with all the stuff that I think I need to config, right? And so if I lose power, I change the batteries and boot it up, and so I don't have to reset and recalibrate things when I go do that. That's the plan anyway. Again, yeah. So the other thought on this was 6-can, but making this a 4 corners bot versus a 6-can bot with the optical flow sensor and stuff would probably not take too much different kind of coding to do the very same thing. You know, whether I enter it in all those or not, it certainly depends. Yeah.
Well,
so, yeah, we're playing with lots of stuff.
Seeing you in the competition there.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that helped me with playing with these things, I haven't put these up on things, and I certainly can if somebody wants to go get them, and I'll take the time and moment, because I do intend to do it. I just haven't done it yet. Are these things? So what I did was, this is 100 millimeters on the side. This one I wasn't so smart, so I mounted it directly to this to hold on to it. In this case, we're doing time of flight stuff, so I could set it one place and do stuff, or set it in a way, or set it upside down and do stuff, and make it so it's steady, so my hands aren't shaking and stuff as I'm trying to measure something. And then I got a little smarter, and I made an addition. See, that's a B&O 055 mount with some heat set inserts, so I can mount some things on it. And this is the that's a B&O 085. This is a B&O 055, right? Mm-hmm. And so why I did that is that now I've got a base here that holds most things, 100 millimeters on the side. Yeah, my 3D, the printing on this is not too great. I got stringy stuff. I don't care about any of that, right? Way to get a clear line of sight for most things out, most places. Way to get into most things on any sides. And this little bit right here, you can loosen these up. So that's what I was doing to make sure that I had the height right on the optical flow sensor. Was I would loosen these screws and put it the right height, and then tighten them back up again to hold on to them. Something. Yeah, especially with the optical flow sensor, you do things like this. You just set it down right there. Oh, what is this? Let's move it a little bit, and let's move it back, and let's see where are we tracking well, and all of that. And I was doing some of that on the stream and playing with it. But that was last month and a half ago, maybe 2 months even. A while when I was doing all that stuff. Anyway, things I play with that I have that I do think are useful, and I do want to put them out there. I just haven't made the time, effort, or energy to actually tell all the people things that I've been doing, or show all the things that I've been doing, and make them available so people can, sing my praises to the heavens, whatever that is. Actually, I don't intend to. I am being very satirical or sarcastical. One of those.
Hallelujah.
Right? Yeah, hallelujah. Thank you, Graham. I'm just being, I just like to go and do, and I want to show. And part of the, I don't know if you guys know the DISC, DISC, personality types. I'm a high I, which that's basically a cheerleader. And one of the problems with the cheerleader is once I get about 90% of a thing done and I'm happy with it, I'm done with it, even though it's not really done and the project's not finished because I haven't told everybody and haven't cheered my own self up, but I'm happy to cheer everybody else. That sort of thing, right? And I do recognize that about myself. And I do enjoy, I really enjoy talking to you folks. I do. I miss you, especially with all the other crap that's going on in my life. This is just fun. This is good stuff. Hanging out with people that are fun to talk to and want to give me great ideas and tell me where I screw up sometimes and tell me where I did good sometimes. It's just a good time. So anyway, would anybody like to know anything more? And yes, my desk is a effing mess. But I'll get around to cleaning it.
Harold, that's poetry. That looks great.
Because, I got to clean it anyway because I got to find the stupid encoder in the breakout board to solder it on to put it on here. So it's here somewhere.
Yeah, I hate that.
The scary thing is my office is starting to look like your office.
Yeah. Oh, and one other thing I've been doing. Hold on.
Yeah, there was a movie with Shelley Long and Bette Midler in it where they're being chased by criminals and they go over to Shelley Long's apartment and it looks like it's been ransacked and they get over to Bette Midler's and she goes, "Oh my God, they've been here too," and then she says, "Oh wait a minute, no they haven't."
So I printed a whole roll of PETG filament, which is why it's all stringy. The IC3D people are paired up with the Toys for Tots campaign. And I printed as many of these Flexi Dolphin things as I could. And me and the wife are going to sit around one evening and get my heat gun out and my trimmer up and make them all real nice and send them in. I don't remember how they is. I think I counted up to about 24, 25 of these things. And send them in and hopefully some... if I was a kid and got a Flexi Dolphin for a Christmas present, I think maybe that's kind of cool. But if that was the only Christmas present I got, maybe I thought it was really cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully it helps. You never know.
Yeah.
You never
nice
know.
thought.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what else I've been doing in the middle of all this other noise. And it has been a few weeks since I talked to you lovely, lovely folks.
Mm-hmm. Well, your robot's really looking good. I can see that's going to come out nice.
Yeah, it's going to come down to some coding, right?
Oh yeah, it always does.
It always does, and there's a lot of different avenues and a lot of different processes. And I was going to say a lot of different things. You got to have something to know when to close the clause. You got to have something to process all the LiDAR information and decide which way to go, and all those various bits and pieces, and what's keeping track of me and the optical flow, and what's keeping track of the wheels, and all those sorts of things. You know, I think we just take them like an elephant. How you eat an elephant one bite at a time, and just work through those things one bite at a time, with knowing the end goal is all of this has to work together. So you don't do things that paint yourself in a corner. You know, yep. That's the thing on top of the head. And I'm sure I'm not going to get it right the first, dozen times or so, but it doesn't matter. It's fun.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's fun.
It's fun to watch them come together.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and what you folks are seeing right here, is Iverson around here tonight? Mike Iverson comes and sees me quite often. And you're seeing a little bit of what I do on the Twitch streams, that we actually, besides just getting squirreled away, we sometimes actually do things. Like last night, we actually did a couple things for real. We actually got something accomplished, which I can't say is a rarity, because we're always trying to do that, but getting actually something done and accomplished is not as, doesn't happen as often as I'd like to do it. But doing things is always happening.
It's cool. All right.
Yeah.
So we're squarely in open mic time. What else do folk have going on? It's quiet. I feel I don't have anything robot to contribute. I'm sorry. I've been deep in the middle of pulling a 60-year-old motor apart. So,
any other progress? You got it down to the bare block yet, or?
Yeah, that was last Thursday at the guy's shop. Took it all the way down to the block, and so now it's pretty much in his capable hands, and we just have to get on with the rest of the item. Gas tank, brakes, pretty much everything.
Every rubber hose on the vehicle.
Everything that's not attached to the motor.
Yeah. So far as parts and stuff go, are you able to find enough parts? Is it new old stock stuff? Or is it?
There's a mix of new old stock. There's enough interest in this model that there's companies that make parts for you. So even like the guy I'm using for the motor, they have, this is a 57 Roadster for those that aren't aware, but apparently the original motor mounts, they're just like rubber cushions. There's 4 of them that the motor sits on. Well, apparently the original ones were only good for 6 or 8 years anyhow. Then they just collapse. And the guy that's doing the engine mechanicals for me, he found a machinist. So he's got some kind of polyurethane insert. So he'll take new rubber and put the polyurethane insert in. So the new motor mounts will be good forever.
That's awesome.
Well, we took apart the brake booster, so it takes vacuum and it adds. It makes it so it takes less foot pedal pressure to get the same braking force.
Right.
So it multiplies your. It doesn't help you stop any faster, but it makes it easier to push the brake pedal. And inside of that, there's this diaphragm. And the seal on the diaphragm is a piece of leather. It's just intrigued me so much. And finally, we got that. We pulled that can apart last week, and the leather looks pretty good. So as soon as I can find the right kind of mineral oil, I'm going to soak the leather, and
that's pretty cool.
So I'll drive around the diaphragm with a leather seal, 60 leather seal.
Yeah. That just seems wrong, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. So I'll take some good photos and stuff. But basically, there's this metal disc, and then it has this channel, and then They must have like stamped the leather and then formed it around, like, because there's no seam anywhere around it. So they must have stamped the ring and formed it around. And then there's this wick that goes between the leather and the metal disc, and I think the wick is supposed to hold the mineral oil and keep it damp. And then there's a spring that pushes it back. Yeah.
You know, I used to run around and do MGBs.
Yeah.
That stopped. You know, 1980 which is when I had, and that was the last year they actually made them. And I was really surprised. I got a four barrel, a 4-cylinder engine. And what surprised me when I started looking for parts for that engine, you know, this was 20 years ago, and then it hadn't been around for 20 years, right?
Right.
And so when I started looking, I'm like, I'm never going to find bearings. I'm never going to find this. I'm never going to find that. Well, it turns out that same style of engine has been in use since like the mid 40s.
Oh yeah.
And depending on whether they wanted a diesel or a gas, depends on what head they put on it. And it uses it. I can't tell you how many tractors use it today because of the size and style and all that kind of stuff of engines. So you got parts laying all over the place, man. I was like just beside myself on how much this stuff is still going.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some of the standards. For this one, the starter, apparently, it's close enough that you can get a brand new starter. It's a Bosch for a Porsche, and it with a very small adapter plate, it fits onto this motor from 1957.
Wow.
Wow. So to keep the value, do you have to use new old stock, or can you use reproduction?
I think I think there's this concept of the ship of Theseus, if I get it right. But to answer your question, it's really hard. It's really hard to say because I used to think that like every screw, every little part, you've got to. The more I preserve, the better off it'd be. But like in reality, this motor guy, so he's going to keep the screws and the bolts where he can, and the nuts and the flats. But the split washers and the wave washers, he'll just trash them because he figures that the springy nature. So I think, I don't know, you can, it certainly helps if you can keep the original going, but there's definitely a penalty in maintenance and reliability for some of the items.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll get like a new clutch plate. I'll probably have the new clutch pressure plate with the springs. And
so what I found on my MGB when I was tinkering with it and doing stuff with it, I found out the reason why people didn't like them. Well,
they were unreliable.
They called them being unreliable. I mean, for instance, your car I'm pretty certain you've already discovered some aspects of this. You're like, oh, that's why everybody whined and complained about this, because they did this dumb thing.
Oh, yeah.
Electricity, yeah. Right? How about we not do that dumb thing when I'm fixing this thing or I'm repairing that? I will do something else, right?
Yeah, yeah, like electronic ignition. I mean,
yeah. So those kinds of the more deviations you take. So I'm just trying to keep it original, but probably little things like adding a fuel pump because it's got an engine side suction instead of a tank side pump. So you have to draw the gas out. But so a lot of guys just wire a pump in right by the tank to push the fuel up, and that's supposed to help. And then the starter, the modern motors are a lot more comfy.
On my 1965 Chevy, a lot of guys will put an electric pump that bypasses the mechanical fuel pump.
Yeah.
Because if you don't start it every day, there's pretty much all the gas in the carburetor evaporates, and you have to sit there to crank the engine just to get fuel into the carburetor. And there is a little manual thing you can pump, but it's pretty much inaccessible. Or if you want to climb underneath the vehicle, you can reach it. But you know,
the one on this car is pretty easy to get at.
What's that?
The one on this car is pretty easy to get at. You just have to lift the hood.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Wink. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Carl, did you ever get your brows?
The what?
The brows.
Oh, no. So on the side of the car, it has these kind of eyebrow features on the fenders. And the earlier models didn't have it, but this model did, but they got thrown away. But there's little aluminum trim strips that go underneath the eyebrows that really add a lot of pizzazz. But yeah, so I haven't picked those up. I haven't done anything cosmetic yet because, I mean, the engine is going to take like the better part of a year. So I wanted to get a long pull started and then get all the other littler parts into their respective shops. And then, man, that's backbreaking to take it down to the bare blocks. So it's making me rethink whether to do 2 phases or maybe it's a part I just go all the way and get the body done now too. But that'll add another year.
What's a couple of years between, you know, hobbies or in your hobby or whatever?
Well, that's what I thought 20, 30 years. That's what I thought last year, but I don't know now. Age creeps up. So, yeah.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
I mean, I know what it felt like to yanking that engine apart when I'm 60, but if I have to pull it out of the thing when I'm 70, do I crawl around like that? I don't know. Do I want to do that still?
You may not want to do that.
That's when you invest in a great lift or a rotisserie for the body, or
or a staff like Jay Leno has.
I think or you just do Jay Leno, becomes real popular, make a talk show, make like billions of dollars, and then just have a staff do it.
Yeah,
I do have a robot thing.
Anything paint and body will kill you. You know, you've got solvents, you've got dust particles, you've got, grinding grit, you've got...
Oh, yeah. And I don't know what the junk was, but he had this bucket outside of his shop, and he just took all the screws and nuts and bolts, went in these little metal trays, and he just dunked it in the bucket overnight, and it came out, and there's no more grease and grime, and it's like...
Yeah, probably Berryman's B12.
Well, I don't know what I have to look up what he said it was, but he said it's extremely, extraordinarily, very nasty and caustic. And I said, probably not allowed in California. And he said, they'll stop it at the border in Indiana. For Illinois, it won't get anywhere near.
I bet it's some triethylene something or another, methane something.
It's like from the Alien movie. It's molecular acid or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty nasty stuff. Yeah, did it have a little tray that, or a little tray that fit in the gallon bucket?
Yeah,
yeah, it's probably Berryman's B12.
Okay.
Oh God, what is that one? Tetraethyl something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Right, I know what you're talking about. That is some nasty stuff. It cleans metal parts like the dickens. But it is some nasty stuff.
I can't think of what it is now.
But I think you're right. It starts with tetraethyl something or other. Somewhere
something. Or, trichlorethane.
Trichlorothane. Something. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's the whole chemical thing I've dodged until now. But some actual some torches arrived today, so I'm going to have to get...
Yes, actually, some of those chemicals will, they can cause liver failure, kidney failure, and you're just from inhaling the fumes from them, so it gets into your bloodstream and very nasty.
Okay. Thanks, Ray. You just made Carl take add another year to this project right there.
Well, you get a pumped air respirator, so you don't have to breathe any of it, and it covers your eyes, so they're not exposed.
No mucous membranes.
Yeah, well ventilated. I think is. And
I thought the worst I had to deal with was the asbestos insulation on the various parts underneath.
There you go. There's another thing that'll in
It's a
automotive
muffler hanger
that'll
with
get you.
asbestos.
Yeah.
So how are we even alive? All that stuff that we've had to go through. How are we even alive?
Yeah.
You know,
it's a simulator. We're not really alive.
oh, okay. So we're all just globs of goo.
all over
We're all
again.
just globs of goo in a petri dish with electrodes shoved into us. Is that what we are, there, Carl?
Version 12 before the okay. Yeah, I think we were just on a tangent here. And Pat, did you say the word robot a little while ago?
I think
Yeah,
so.
I've got a just a little tiny update
Okay.
on the sharp sensors I was working on.
Yeah.
Had to tie in some capacitors, and I forget who had
Suggested that.
suggested doing that, but I tied in some capacitors, and can you see my screen? My left IR and my right IR
Mm-hmm.
have stabilized quite a bit.
That's
Wow.
good.
That's just a little 10 microfarad Mylar capacitor I put on those.
Yep. Yeah, it'll get rid of the spikes.
So that's it. All I had.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know how much power is being used when for ESP now on the ESP32, but I can see it like a little periodic dip on the 3.3 volts. I think it's whenever I'm broadcasting out, to my receiver. So yeah, it's and I've got like 3 different capacitors on the 3.3 volt supply. So, but it still dips down a little bit.
You just gave me a clue, Ray. I was wondering how I was going to communicate with my ESP32 on the motor and sensor board, because all that stuff's going to plug into there.
Yep.
And my Teensy, and I'm already doing MQTT on my Mr. Big Head and some other stuff around here. An MQTT is a lightweight thing. The Teensy's got more than enough juice to act as a server. It's got a Wi-Fi action thing going on it anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I just have MQTT and a little wireless running around my robot, communicating between the 2 boards. I mean, you got to go, 3 inches maybe?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking I got the signal for it. Maybe? I don't know. I'm thinking about that more. Because if I want to, the other thing is, I'm going to see if I can keep the wiring as neat as possible. Because I'm watching. You don't think I'm watching, but I'm watching. Almost everybody on this channel has problems with wiring and loose connections and all those sorts of things. So if I can do if I have fewer connection points, then that's better. In fact, what is it?
It's the bane of the DuPont connector.
Yeah, this here. This is the connector for the screen. It's got a big connector here and a bunch of ends over here. And I'm thinking what I may end up doing on there is pop those out of there and just get one big wide connector and be able to connect them up somehow. I can, just to reduce all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, again, thoughts might be crazy because, real world, all that stuff gets.
So that number of wires, that must be a parallel display then? Like an 8 or a 16-bit parallel display?
Yeah, that does SPI and a few other things. And if you want to look at, here, we'll do this number. If I can. There you go. You guys can read that. It's reverse on my side, but it may be forward on yours. There's all the different connectors and all the different things on the back of it. And
that looks like SPI.
Yeah. So I don't know what all the connectors are going to do, but it's there. Yep. It is running. BC data in, clock. Yep. It's SPI. So I don't know. I think all of those connectors are like backlight and lighting up and a bunch of other things. Not really signal things because it's SPI on the front end of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, which also means you should be able to update this pretty quick. That could be fun graphic time while it's running, right? Anyway. See, I'm still getting ideas, and I stopped talking. Well, I didn't really stop talking, but, you know, I hopefully left air in the room for other people to talk.
All good.
So, Kareem, what you been up to?
He's muted.
He fell asleep. He probably stepped away.
Couldn't find my phone. I'm just working downstairs at the moment, so I just listen to you guys. I got nothing. I mean, I got plenty of stuff going on, but it's mostly just working with the team because their competition, their first competition meet is the same day as yours. So that's why we can't be involved in that, but that's like taking up all our time. So I got nothing to share with y'all right now, but I'm sure they'll have something,
Okay.
Probably a couple of weeks after that.
Yep. Sounds good.
I'm sorry, I'm going to miss it.
We're going to miss seeing you too, but we'll catch you at the next one somewhere.
Oh, yeah, Behrman B12, yeah.
Yeah, how long has that B12 Kim tool been around, man? Long time, huh?
I have no idea.
Been around a really long time. I remember my dad having an old can when I was, I'd say 6 years old. He had an old can still laying around somewhere, or still in the thing. He always had a can of that laying around.
Huh. Never seen it before.
Yeah, great for tarnish on carburetors or solidified grease or...
And it says a very mild and pleasant odor.
Oh, yeah. If you like sniffing glue, maybe.
I just gave that up, so maybe I don't need to have that again. So
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. You don't need that experience.
Yeah. Pick a fine day to stop sniffing glue.
Yeah.
Hey guys, so let's see. Have we kind of run the gamut? Call it a night?
Yeah.
Save our energy for robots till next Tuesday? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. We gotta give Harold time to prepare for that competition.
Oh my word.
Harold and Doug.